we ran an exclusive in the Sun about 4 members of staff that have left Sussex employ. Now, these were 3 very well respected, very professional comms staff, 2 communications directors, 1 based here in the UK, and also the person who was initially behind Meghan's Instagram page until recent weeks, where they've now joined Method Communications. They've got this whole new body of team that were behind the twerking video. How do we feel about this change of direction for the Sussexes, guys?
Welcome back to the channel. If you've been keeping an eye on royal headlines, you already know Meghan and Harry are making waves yet again. This time, it's not a Netflix deal, a tell-all interview, or a new podcast grabbing attention. Nope. It's another staff shake-up that's got everyone talking. So, what's going on?
Well, I mean, it happens the whole time, doesn't it? She can't keep staff, and that's always a very bad sign. And that goes back for decades. Well, not decades. It goes back for years, though. I mean, everyone leaves. I mean, she's obviously a nightmare to work for. And I mean, I've told this story before, but, you know, first time I heard about it was when she was rude to the gardener when she was at Frogmore Cottage, and the head gardener went and complained to the Queen. Queen drove down in her Land Rover and ticked her off.
Oh, wow.
But that's ages ago. You know,
who would do that now in this kind of situation? There isn't anyone to drive down
she just
to Montecito.
No, she just sacks people and then gets new people. And that's just the same as all these new projects. I mean, she can't keep people. It must be very difficult for them because as she's always changing direction, it must be very difficult for them to navigate actually what's going on. And then the moment something goes wrong, she blames probably somebody and chucks them out and gets a new person. And so it goes on.
4 more staffers have reportedly exited Meghan and Harry's team. If you're thinking, didn't I just hear about this? You're not wrong. Staff turnover seems to follow this couple wherever they go, from their days in Kensington Palace to their new life across the pond. Some call it bad luck. Others say it's a toxic work environment. The truth probably lies somewhere in between, but one thing is clear, there's a pattern here.
This is interesting. One source said to me, Samara, when we broke the story, they said, well, they always blame other people. There's always somebody else to blame if things go wrong.
Yes.
Because things have gone wrong this year. There's been so many PR disasters that have happened this year. Is there maybe a time where they stop blaming their comms chiefs and maybe start looking at themselves?
It's a great question. I mean, their entire life is built upon the blame game and this victimhood that they perpetuate. I mean, they put it on their own family. They put it on their staff. Their staff are a revolving door of, as you said, Hugo, very qualified people who have worked in very high pressure environments, Meta, Apple, you know, Facebook. It's ridiculous that they aren't able to hold them, or Meghan isn't able to manage people properly. And not to go back to the podcast, but she said this very interesting quote. She said, "I no longer value decision made by committee," which basically means I don't care about what anyone else thinks anymore. I'm not going to consult anyone. And I basically am a one-man show and an echo chamber, which really does go to the whole dictator in high heels claims, you know, the accusations of bullying and the way that she manages her staff just being absolutely perilous.
So do we think going on that line then, do we think that the twerking video, which we are told is, you know, all to do with this new super duper dream team that they've brought in that knows how to get content online? I mean, it had 42 million views. That will be viewed as a success in Montecito. Do we think that Meghan is the I think ideation she used in this podcast quite a lot, which I had to Google. But do you think she comes up with all the ideas? Do you think she was behind that twerking video, as you pointed out, that, you know, she doesn't want to do things by committee? Or do we think that this whole new team that she's brought in that's coming up with fresh ideas are the ones that have really given fresh impetus to?
One former staffer famously described Meghan as a dictator in high heels. Ouch. That phrase went viral for a reason. It struck a nerve. Here's where it gets interesting. Meghan and Harry have become experts at the blame game. Think about it. Every time a scandal erupts, there's always someone else at fault. The royal family, racist and unsupportive. The British press, hostile and relentless. Even close friends and aides have found themselves in the firing line. Remember the Oprah interview? That was the moment the public saw just how deep the couple's narrative of victimhood goes.
Social media.
I mean, it was so left of field to see that twerking video. I know we've spoken about it a lot and everything like that, but it was such a change from the sanitized linens and cherry picking and fruit picking in the forest of Montecito. Then to see that twerking video with the random sound over it, it's such a sort of swerve in the other direction for her brand and her social media page. I know that it did get a lot of traction, and that's kind of what she wants at the end of the day.
I did get the chance to listen to Meghan's latest podcast interview. And I kind of almost choked on my little can of gin and tonic when I heard the line of her asking people to tell the truth about her. What do you make of this line, Samara? Because she has been accused in the past of kind of bending the truth a little bit. It was kind of a plea where she was saying she wanted to change the narrative, and the narrative would be she wanted people to speak the truth about her.
Yeah, speaking the truth, how about that Buckingham Palace audit and Kensington Palace audit where that has been withheld and not shown to the public? I think that would have a lot of truths in it about Meghan and the bullying allegations, or the revolving door of staff that she churns through, that she's had to sign NDAs. I mean, I don't want to listen to this woman about truth, because the fact of the matter is she's a constant liar. Her whole brand is built on a spin of lies, and I don't trust a word that woman says. So I think that it is very, very low of her to insinuate that we should listen to her truth, or she wishes that other members of the royal family told truths. I don't want to hear it from her. I really don't.
Well, she was referring to 8 years ago. She said, "My dear friend Serena told me years ago, a lie can't last forever." And she added, 8 years ago is a long time, but not forever. She's trying to move forward, Hugo, but she is still talking about, still harking back to issues or problems that she had when she was in the royal family.
They dropped bombshells without naming names, painting themselves as the perpetual targets. But is this just a way to protect themselves, or is it strategic? Some say they've turned being the victim into a brand. Others believe they're genuinely misunderstood, caught in a whirlwind beyond their control. Lately, even some loyal supporters are starting to ask tough questions. Why does their team keep falling apart? Why do new projects so often fizzle out? And why, in every story, are Meghan and Harry always the ones who've been wronged? Maybe it's time for the couple to look inward.
Well, yes, you'll always do that. But actually, I think Samara and I and others do actually tell the truth about her, and I don't think she likes it very much.
Right. I mean, that's probably one of the points. She did mention in the podcast that she was thick-skinned. Again, I did kind of raise my eyebrows a little bit about that. But
apparently a failure is a win for her. She also said that, and she ought to know, because there have been plenty of them. And then also she said at the very end, if you persevered, which was I mean, thank you very much for making me watch an hour and a half of this stuff, by the way. I really needed that. At the very end, she said that her 15-year-old self would be very proud of her present-day self. And how she's doing. So I wonder what her 15-year-old self was like. I mean, God.
I don't think anyone's proud of their 15-year-old self. I mean, I don't understand what she was trying to say there. It was like the lack of authenticity in that interview was really palpable. Like, Emma Grede is, who was the interviewer, she's such a self-made East Londoner who actually really fought for what she has. And she's really the brains behind a lot of big brands, you know, the Kardashians, etc., which is a little bit tawdry, but, you know, she really is someone who worked her way to be there. Meghan, on the other hand, really socially mountaineered her way to the top. So it's very difficult to take, you know, this authentic side that Emma was giving and this complete lack of authenticity that Meghan was showing in the interview. It was very hard to watch. I don't know about.
So, guys, when I was listening to it, and I didn't get the chance to write it down, but I started keeping a tally of the amount of times she actually used the word authentic. She used authentic, authenticity. It was something that was scattered. I think it was an hour and a half long, and it was scattered throughout about talking about how authentic she was, how authentic her brand was.
25 times I counted.
You did count, did you?
Yeah,
25
because I have
times.
no life. But yeah, she probably said it more, but it was scattered throughout there, and it was like, that's the one thing you're missing, Meghan. Nothing is authentic about you.
If you keep running into the same problems with new people and fresh starts, maybe, just maybe, the common denominator isn't everyone else. Meghan and Harry's story is still being written, but these latest staff exits make one thing tough to ignore. You can't build a lasting legacy if you never own your part in the mess.
I thought it was rather interesting that Emma Grede did that. I mean, I personally, I hate to tell you, being so very old-fashioned, hadn't heard of Emma Grede, and I imagine she did this thing so that she would be, you know, a lot of our people, the Meghan Markle people, would then watch her and say she'll also be better known. So now, and I was very impressed by her, and I looked her up, and she's done fantastic things, as you said. So what on earth she was doing, except somehow sort of, you know, getting on the bandwagon with Meghan Markle, I don't really know. It inspired a thought to me, you know, as I was listening to this. I thought, you know, why don't I come here today and tell you about my my toothbrushing experience, you know, how I respect the toothbrush and how I throw energy into the brushing process, and how when I squeeze the tube, I'm connecting with life and sort of feeling that, getting the goodness coming out of it. That was what I ended up thinking at the end of this. In other words, what I'm saying, it's all psychobabble.
Well, interesting. I came away from the thought thinking, I didn't feel overly offended by it. I was listening to if you came in as an outsider and didn't know the history of everything that's been going on, you would just listen to an entrepreneur talking with passion about her life and her business. And I think that the fact that we do have this long memory, she is trying to kind of change, as she talks, the narrative. And if she had come out with this interview 7 or 8 years ago, I think people may have been more favourable to her. I think it's because we still have the memory. We still know that everything that's gone on in the past. I think it's been such a wasted opportunity. She did seem to me as someone who was actually talking with passion about her business.
So what do you think? Are Meghan and Harry victims of circumstance, or is the blame game finally catching up to them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell for more royal revelations. Thanks for watching.